anxiety, we have depression, we have mood symptoms. Another mood symptom, that would be bipolar disorder. And that's usually where people have a range of emotions on a spectrum. So they can go from really sad, really depressed, to really happy, really excited, really manic in a very short period of time. So they could be sitting here with you and they can be quite fine, they can be okay, and the next minute they're upset, they're crying, they want to hurt somebody. The symptoms can be at different extremes, and they might be spending money wildly, they might be engaging in particular activities that is harmful to themselves, or you may find them calling you in the middle of the night when you know they're supposed to be sleeping, they want to be up, they want to chat, they're hyper. So these are some of the things that you can look out for. How does a person get a mental illness? It can be different things. So there's not one particular thing that I say you are going to do and that is going to cause you to develop a mental illness. Different things are in play. So we have that persons might be at a genetic predisposition, meaning somewhere in their family history, somebody for them would have suffered from a mental illness, their mother, grandmother, grandfather, somebody in their family tree would have suffered from a mental illness. In addition to that, they could have experienced a traumatic event. So loss of relatives, being abused, being sexually harassed, things like this. Then you can have people who abuse substances. So it's usually multiple things that are happening to the individual at the same time that can contribute to a mental illness. So it's not going to be any particular thing. So I can give you symptoms and you can say, but wait, I don't sleep properly, so does that mean I have a mental illness? No, that is not going to be the case. For somebody to be diagnosed with a mental illness, they have to be experiencing a certain amount of symptoms for a certain amount of time. So when it comes to depressive symptoms, they have to have been experiencing a particular amount of symptoms consistently for a 2-week period. So it's not that I experienced it today, and then I was good tomorrow, and then I experienced it a couple of days later, and that means I'm suffering from a mental illness. That's not the case. It means that you have been consistently experiencing these symptoms. When it comes to psychotic disorders, where you're hearing voices, seeing things, you tend to see a decline in that person's behavior over a 6-month period. So if you haven't had that decline over a 6-month period, you're not going to be diagnosed with a certain mental illness. So if you need help, if you have a family member that needs help, how do you get help? So for family members who are able to get their family members to come, who are willing, who recognize that something is wrong and they need to get the help, you can take them to the doctor, let them know your concerns, and they will write up a referral to the Mental Health Rehabilitation Center. Why is this? Mental health is a referral service, and other things can contribute and mimic mental health symptoms. So for a person who, let's say, they're suffering from hypertension, or they're suffering from diabetes and their levels are not good, or they're having problems with their thyroid function, that can contribute to a person exhibiting signs that may mimic a mental illness. So why we call it a referral service? Because we want you to have that general contact with your doctor, so that they can rule out, this person doesn't have any issues with their thyroid, they're not having any issues with their hypertension, diabetes, no other issues that can be contributing to a mental illness. So we know this is now where mental health is supposed to come in and do the necessary things. In addition, the officer mentioned calling police officers. So if you have somebody that is acting out and you don't feel safe, you can call the police. Let them know that you have a family member that you think might be of danger to themselves or other persons. The police will pick them up. They will take them to the nearest clinic where a doctor can write up the referral form, because like I said, mental health is a referral process. So the police will take them to the doctor will write up a referral form, and then they will bring them across to the Mental Health Rehabilitation Center for assessment and treatment. When they get to mental health, they're seen by a multidisciplinary team. So it's not just they come to mental health, they get that one injection, and then that's that. People have this thing where you go to mental health and they give you one injection. That is not how that goes. For different mental health related issues, there are different type of medication. So if the person is experiencing psychotic symptoms, they have antipsychotics. If they're experiencing depression, there are their antidepressants. If they have a mood disorder, there are their mood stabilizers. So we treat the patients based on the symptoms that they're experiencing, and no one person just gets that one injection and then we send them inside. That's not how that works. So they are seen by a multidisciplinary team, meaning they're seen by doctors, there are nurses there to assess, make sure they get their medication on time, things like that. In addition, there are counselors and social workers. So social workers, they assess the social situation, see what is happening at home, how best we can assist in making sure that that person is able to get back to their level of functioning. Counselors who would come in and speak to them about taking their medication, about changing the way that they operate and about changing their functioning, and make sure they get back to a place where they feel like they can take themselves back into society, because a mental health or a mental illness does not diminish your capacity to function within society. And that is what I want people to remember. Somebody having a mental illness, it does not mean that they're not going to be functional. It does not mean that they're not going to contribute. And this is why we often try to get family members involved in the process, because we want persons there to be that level of support. Every now and then people need somebody. They need somebody who is going to assist. And it doesn't always have to be in a great capacity. It can be something as simple as making sure they take their medication. It can be something as simple as reminding them, you have a clinic date coming up this Friday, make sure you go to clinic. Small things like that, making sure they get a meal so that they can take their medication. Simple things like these are how persons can assist with persons who may have a mental illness. In addition to coming to mental health, we do have psychiatric outpatient clinics. So we have on Tuesdays, we go to Enums. On Wednesdays, we're at the Buckerman Bay Polyclinic. On Fridays, we run an outpatient clinic. So having a mental illness does not mean you're coming to the institution to stay. You can go to outpatient clinic, get your checkup, make sure that your medication, you have enough medication, and then you move forward from there. You go back to your daily functioning. We also have field trips. I don't have the list with me right now, but I can make sure it is sent back should anybody need it, where they go to the countryside, they go to the leeward side, and we do also have an outpatient clinic in prison. So if a person is sentenced and they are on their psychiatric medication, we have that clinic in prison to make sure that the persons get the necessary checkups that they need. In addition, we have a Grenadine clinic every quarter that is in Beckway, Canawan, and Union Island. So I think that is a general overlay. If you need assistance, it does not have to be in a great capacity. If you feel like you just need counseling, you just need somebody to talk to, you can reach out to the Mental Health Rehabilitation Center for help. The numbers are 45842240 or 4586185. So 4584240 or 4586185. We want everybody, should they need to get that level of assistance, to reach out for help. We want persons to be comfortable in reaching out for that service, and the only way we are going to do this is if we normalize asking for help in that capacity. Just like how something might come up on your skin, or you might be feeling well today and you say, I have to go to the doctor, I have to get this checked. If you feel like you are not functioning in a capacity that you are accustomed to, or you're experiencing symptoms outside of what you're accustomed to, and there are no physical ailments that are contributing, we are encouraging you to reach out for help. Mental health is just like health. Just like how you'd reach out, just like how you'd go to the doctor if you have diabetes, hypertension, cancer, get your mental health checked. And something that I tell everybody in every capacity where I go, we try to stay away from the word crazy, because it can be quite offensive for persons who are suffering from a mental illness. So should you need that help, you reach out for it, because there is no health without good mental health. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Matthews. So, that was quite a lot, and a lot of food for thought. I want to apologize for those who are following online. I understand that you would have missed some of the earlier speakers. So before we open the floor for questions and comments, I just want to give a summary. I'll try my best just to do a bit of recap of what persons would have shared on, just for the benefit of persons online. So we have Dr. Bonnet, who shared first, and he spoke about the importance of self-awareness. And he said that discomfort that most persons experience comes from shame and blame. And he talked about some of the issues that can affect mental health, things like childhood abuse, social isolation, religious fanaticism, long-time stress, bereavement. And he also talked about the symptoms of mental health issues, things like loss of interest, feeling tired all the time, aggression, obsessive thinking, physical pain. And he also gave us some tips as to how we can take care of our mental health. And tips like, be thankful. And I love this one, put away the cell phone sometimes. Think before responding, reading more, giving compliments, apologizing when you're wrong, and I think I said be thankful, yes. And then we had Miss Haynes, and she shared, and it's difficult for me to say exactly what she said because it's her story. You know, she shared about her struggles with depression and anxiety, eating disorders, and she also spoke about the shame and the guilt that Dr. Bonnet, spoke about. And she spoke about her struggles, and she also shared how important it was for her to have a support system which would have helped her. She spoke about her hospitalization and her struggle with the illness and all that she would have experienced. She even spoke about being abused as a child and how that would have impacted her life. Then we had Mr. Graham, and he spoke about importance of recognizing mental illness, because you have to first of all recognize it before you can report the matter to the police. And he said the reason for reporting the matter to the police is to get help for persons. Because when the matter is reported to the police, then they're sent to the mental health center for evaluation. And from there, the judge will decide what to do with the person, and then the person can get the help that they need. So he thinks it's a mistake to put off cases or to tell the police you're not bothering with the case, because the issue is not about the case, but it's about we should think first and foremost about getting help for the person who is ill. And then we had Miss Matthews, who spoke about stigma. She spoke about symptoms, and those would have been touched by Dr. Bonnet. So I'm not going to go over all of them. And she spoke about some of the issues that they would see coming to mental health, some of the disorders, things like mood disorders, anxiety, psychotic disorders, substance use disorders, bipolar disorder. And she spoke about how to get help through the referral system. And she also mentioned that mental illness symptoms can mimic other symptoms. For example, if you have thyroid disease, some of the symptoms that you will experience could also look like mental health issues, so we need to get ourselves checked out. She also spoke about medication and the assertion that everybody who goes to mental health will just get one injection, right? So she spoke about the fact that you get medication according to your diagnosis. And also, very importantly, that mental illness does not mean that persons cannot be functional. Case in point. So at this point, I am going to open the floor for discussion, and we want to keep it flowing, smooth and fast, because we are pressed for time. So if you have a question at this time or a comment, if you have your question, if you want your question to be directed to somebody in particular, then you would let me know. If not, I will just ask one of the panelists to answer. So if you have a question, raise your hand, And the technical team will bring the mic to you. So we have Sister Joseph in the corner with her hand up. Could you please take the mic to her? After which we'll have Sister Caesar. After which we'll have Sister Caesar. So let's do this quickly. And let's put our hands together again for the presenters. I think they did a really good job. Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. Now, I'm really directing to both Miss Haynes and Miss Matthews. I have two questions, but before I ask, I will make two statements. Miss Haynes, I listened to your life story, and I view you as a woman of strength.
Amen.
I believe that your story has touched lives. I believe that there are people out there who are listening to you and maybe going through similar situations. They may not have ready support at hand now, or may not know how to seek the help. A lot of young people, young individuals are presently committing suicide. I myself has faced the grieving problem of losing a nephew to suicide because he couldn't cope with his situations. My question to you is, what advice will you give to individuals on how to cope with situations that they are going through presently similar to yours? Because they were listening, and some of them probably out there, and they listen to you and they're wondering, boy, look, listen to this woman, look at how strong she is. What can I do? So what advice will you have for them? And Ms. Matthews, we are hearing a lot about mental health these days. There is now the talk about having a mental health day for workers. I know that our jobs tend to draw a lot from us mentally. What is your view on having a mental health day for workers, and how often should this take place?
So questions to Miss Haynes and Miss Matthews.
Okay,
Use the mic.
The first thing I would say to young people is don't go it alone, seek help. The moment you realize that some of the symptoms that were mentioned here today, and you realize that you're not coping, seek help. Talk to someone. If you are not sure how to, talk to someone, an adult, somebody who you can reach out to, and let that person accompany you to seek help if you don't know how to do it on your own. But definitely don't go it alone.
Thank you.
So as it relates to a mental health day, it is something that I am for. At least once a month, a person should be able to take a day should they find themselves extremely overwhelmed. Because we know people's workload, it can get very hectic. In addition to that, you have to take into consideration they may have family issues going on and many other things. So I would advocate for a mental health day. We've actually talked about it in different capacities because we've done workshops throughout different workplaces. I'm not sure exactly where Service Commission stands if you work for the government, but in the private sector, I would encourage you to have that conversation with HR, where you are able to take a mental health day at least once a month when you recognize that you're feeling overly stressed and things are getting quite overwhelming. Because persons who are not their best, they're not going to function at 100. So it's in the employer's best interest to make sure that persons are at a place where they are going to give maximum productivity. So that is something I would advocate for.
Thank you. I'm going to also ask Dr. Bonnet to just share a little bit as to what you think that mental health day should look like, because we can say it's good to have a mental health day, but What should that day look like? What are some suggestions?
I sat here and I was wondering too, because you might ask somebody to take a day for mental health, you know, for them to sit there, relax, whatever. But I think the onus is on the individual because you have to be disciplined. And you have to be able to manage your time because I figure that's the problem so much. So it's not that an institution should just give you a day in the month, a day in the year, whatever. It boils down to an individual managing his or her life. And that's where probably you need to educate them on that. The number of things that they find to do. Because you give somebody a day, that person's going to find 1,000,002 things to do. So it's educating them and let them see that I need to manage my life. I have to discipline myself when it comes to my personal life. Because if you don't have health, you can't enjoy anything. So to give them the day, yes, but I'm still wondering how that individual is going to use that time. And here is probably where you need to probably hold session, discuss and among them, you know, best practice and find out things that you can do to be able to put it to good use.
Brother Graham would want to respond.
So for a mental health day, I don't want persons to think this is just a day off to relax and do whatever. This is a day that is geared towards you are not doing well, you are not at your optimum, so you are taking this day to get to a place of wellness. So it's not for me to say you need to sleep for 8 hours, you need to get up, have breakfast, have a wonderful lunch, and have a wonderful dinner. But to structure it for your individual needs. So as doctor said, if you're having issues because of time and not managing yourself well, using that day to figure out how can I get to a better place? What do I need to put in place? What preparations do I need to make? If it is that you're studying and you're working and you're doing all of these things, how can I use this day to be productive so that I am at least ahead, so that I am not falling behind and it is not stressing me out? And I'm not saying every month persons have to take a day, but recognizing that you need a day this month to get yourself to a place where you are productive, because at the end of the day, your employers expect you to work. They expect you to come to work and they expect you to produce. So it's not something to take advantage of the people who are trusting you with this time, but for you to use it to the best so that you can produce at your best.
Thank you very much. Brother Graham said he'd like to respond, after which we'll have Sister Caesar's question.
I would like to be an advocate. The question is, though, is that within the workplace, you have 2 days. You can't have 2 days, and the third day, you submit a sick leave. Hello? Okay, on the second day then, so there you have a day. So which coupled with Mr. Haynes, what do you do with that day? Because they're going to argue you have this. Because you have a day, and then on the second day, you submit. If you're not feeling well, you have to be something mental, may not be that you need to see a doctor. So then what do you do with that day? But it's a good idea mentioning it. But I think that, as you say, it has to be self-discipline. What do you do with that day? Because remember we are saying is mental health and sickness. So therefore, if you're describing it as a day of you're not feeling well, you're sick, how do you deal with that day? So I think it's a matter of discipline. And I think that is going to come into play. Probably I've been a supervisor too long, so then that's how I would think.
Thank you very much. Sister Caesar, you can ask your question now.
Praise the Lord. I am happy, very happy for this forum this evening, where a lot of things that were hidden came to light. Now, Dr. Bonnet said, which I quite agree with him, there are some times in life when apostles may wrong you. They tend to make an apology, but they have a but in it. So I don't accept it at all. Because if you say, I'm sorry, but it's you who trouble me. that means you're not, for me personally, you're not totally sorry. So I rather you take out the but. If you're sorry, I'm sorry. Full stop. That's personally me. Now, I had a question to ask Miss Matthews, but she answered it. That if mental illness is hereditary. And she answered the question. I had it all your clock. So I put that aside. There is a myth. I'm not sure if it has any bearings, but I overheard as a child that when it's full moon, that you have most of these mental flares taking place. I don't know if you know of it or you have heard of it, and you can throw some light on it. Now, Miss Matthews, at one time I became overwhelmed, and you said some things there that the stigma, and then the individual who got damaged, they become withdrawn, they feel guilty, they feel nasty, and things like that. I want to say here that to admonish us as parents, because what Miss Matthews said, that she fair telling, because persons would think.
You mean Miss Haynes?
Miss Haynes, sorry. Miss Haynes said that she fair telling because persons would think that she's lying. I say all of that to say that us as grandparents and parents instill certain things in our children. Ask them questions so that they would be able, because some persons come up in such a straitjacket that they're afraid to say certain things. Because some parents would say that they're lying, and it's still happening today. But let us cultivate that attitude as grandparents and parents to ask our children questions and to tell them what to expect. Because some people don't know that you shouldn't touch a child in certain compromised way or whatever and whatever. So if somebody do that to them, they would be able to come and tell you. So let us foster that relationship with our children, that they would readily come and tell us, that some of them would not fall into the demise as my sister here. Now, I was speaking to a doctor today, and a child was in the hospital, and she had high fever. And so they had to use a suppository thing up in the anus to bring down the fever. The child was sleeping, and she caught the nurse doing it. And with her trembling voice, because she had a high fever, she said, "Let me tell you something. Don't you do it again." And I am happy for the mother's response. She didn't say, "Behave yourself." She allowed the child to say what she had to say, because maybe down the road somebody might try to touch her hair, and she think it's quite normal. So I admonish us here as parents and grandchildren and grandparents. Please tell your children these things. Don't let nobody touch your penis. Inappropriate. Don't make them touch your vagina. Don't make, because then I have to go to these two places, don't go and touch bottom too. Because it's quite not, well, they say it's normal now. So, quote unquote. So, let us be careful. I am so happy that I came here, and there is help for anybody who needs help, because we heard Miss Matthews talk, and we heard Miss Haynes talk about social network that persons can help you to get over certain illness. I want the one with the full moon.
Thank you very much. And also, Dr. Bonnet is a psychotherapist, so you can go to him for therapy. Also, question? Oh, you had to respond to a question?
Yes, okay. So, in the two things, it's correct. Persons who suffer from a mental illness, it can be as a result of genetic predisposition. Not to say that if you have a family member that is suffering from a mental illness, that means you will get it. It just means that it's in your pool, your gene pool. Just like how a family member may have hypertension or diabetes and it passed straight by you, it's the same for mental illness. Secondly, as it relates to full moon, I have heard it. For me, no, I don't think it affects, but I've heard people say yes, it does cause a change in persons. But for me personally, I've never seen that great change. Doctor, I don't know if you've seen it at any point.
Well, as she said, it's a myth, so let's take it that it's a myth. Questions, comments from the audience? Yes, Sister Baptiste. If anybody else would like, you can just raise your hand in the meantime so we'll know who's next. Okay? Okay. Gentleman in the back there and then one.
I am grateful that I'm here because I learned a lot, right? But I have a question here, nevertheless. Can someone experience mental breakdown by reaching menopause? By having, the experience of menopause? Anyone can answer it. Thank you.
Yes, you can. So, with change in the body, it can cause you to experience different things. Different persons may have different experiences. So, I know for some persons who would have had depressive symptoms, and I do know of persons as well who would have had psychotic symptoms. So, somebody who is experiencing menopause and that change can develop mental health related issues.
Thank you. The gentleman in the corner and then Miss Monica right here.
Good evening, everyone. Why does someone who is mentally challenged patterns are different? Does it mean that different parts of the brain is being affected? Like someone is be violent and some other ones is be like just sitting there ain't saying nothing.
So different mental illnesses, they're going to cause different reactions in the individual. So they would have it would have persons who experience psychotic symptoms who would get more aggressive. It will have those who experience psychotic symptoms and they get really quiet. It would have persons, not only do they have a mental illness, but they have a substance abuse problem as well, and different things are going to affect people in a different manner. In addition, your exposure before the fact. So it could be that that person was raised in a quiet environment. So when they get to that place where they're unwell, that is how they respond. Whereas there are persons who are going to act out, who are going to be aggressive. And for some mental health patients, their reality of the world isn't going to be our reality of the world. So I would look at you and I would say, fine young man, he's in church, he's doing well. Whereas a mentally ill person might look at you and see a demon, for example, if they're having psychotic symptoms. That is now something that threatens them as a person, and so they're going to act out in a manner as to say they're fighting the demon or they're trying to protect themselves. So different persons with mental illnesses, depending on what they're experiencing, can have a different format. For some persons, it's going to be that they're experiencing reality different from us. For other persons, it's going to be their socialization. And then for other persons, their substance abuse related issues can affect their response to others.
Thank you very much. Miss Monica.
I think I was like depressed, you know. I couldn't stay at home. I want to go by my friend, and when I go my friend, I want to go home. Okay? I sleep at night.
Thank you so much for sharing, Dr. Burnett.
Just to say something about that. It's a society that we are living into. There are so many persons hurting out there. And sometimes all you need is somebody to just hug you or somebody to just, just talk to you and all that. But you see, we are living in a judgmental society. The people are very, very judgmental. And the sad thing about it is that it's happening within the church. As a practicing psychotherapist here, I find that the problems that I do get from time to time come from the people in the church. Those are the ones who suffer. Yes, they come on a Sunday morning and they raise their hand and they carry on and they carry on. And you meet them the next day and they say, "Oh, I'm too blessed to be stressed." They carry on like that, but they are suffering. Deep down within, they are really, really suffering. But again, we are the ones. We are too judgmental. We need to accept people for who they are. We need to be able to welcome people. And there's something that bothers me. That we talk about Christ and whatever, but Christ was different. If you're going to tell me about Christ, he is not persons who turn away people. He embraced people. And I find that it's a problem in the church. Day by day I'm getting a problem with people in the church. Because we are not preaching we are not living the life that we are preaching about. We need to be more welcoming. We need to be able to be less judgmental and embrace people. And then we'll be able to reach out to them.
Thank you very much.
That's very correct. So I'm just going to hop on this train and encourage persons. People are out here, they are struggling, they are suffering. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to say where you can help try. You never know what people are going through. People are trying, they are reaching out for help, and we are shunning them because of the stigma that is attached to mental health. I am not saying to you that you have to provide them with a service. But if you know somebody that requires that help, you can reach out on their behalf. Let them know X, Y, and Z needs your assistance, and we want to see how best you can help them. And it's correct in saying that sometimes there are problems within the church where we think if we read our Bibles and if we go to church every Sunday, things are going to be good. I will never object to going to church. I will never object to praying about the problems that you are experiencing. But I am encouraging you, in addition, when you find that you have symptoms that are overwhelming, you need to reach out for help. Because we all know Christ helped those who help themselves.
Ms. Haynes, do you care to comment? Okay. Questions? Comments? Schizophrenia.
Okay, so bipolar, schizophrenia, they are classed under mental disorders. And under mental disorders, there are different brackets. So mood disorders, you would have bipolar disorder, and then psychotic disorders, you would have schizophrenia. Based on certain symptomology, it would be a different diagnosis. So somebody who is experiencing psychotic symptoms, let's say they're disconnected from reality, they're hearing voices, stuff like that, that would be classed within a psychotic disorder, schizophrenia. And then for mood disorder, that is mood symptoms. So like your depression, your anxiety, your bipolar disorder, where it's mainly the person's mood that is affected, so not wanting to do things, their mood moving up and down from manic to depression. Different symptomology will take you in different, but they're all mental illnesses.
I want to actually refer back to the church scenario, the setting with not recognizing where somebody needs help and helping. Actually, you would have heard in police, security. Actually, my first job at age 15 was a teacher, and I taught for 5-6 years. So I actually been dealing with people for a long, long, long time. And I could read a person's demeanor. Just standing in front of me, I feel you, I could read you. And I have a problem in terms of how we deal with people. Some morning ago, a Sunday morning, somebody tried to lift my Jeep. And when I got out, first thing that clicked to me is how to manage this. I realized something is wrong. I suspected something is wrong, and I know something was wrong. I said the best way is to drive with the Jeep away, so you move the person from the Jeep, and the person relax. Any case, the afternoon the person texts me, I hope he got my number, blah, 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 and said somebody told her that she was lifting my Jeep. I said to her, I said, do you realize that you have a problem? She said, yes. I said, do you realize you may have a mental issue? She said, yes. I said, have you ever seek help? She said, yes. I said, okay, I will try to organize some help with you. I have some conversations, and the conversation produced some help. And I believe that help worked. But the question is, though, is that I'm saying in our church, we need to feel more, look more, and see more.
Before I ask Brother Shaw to take the other question, I just want to say how much I agree with you, Brother Graham, and so forth. Because for me personally, I remember when I had my first child, and she died, and I didn't feel like persons were empathizing with me, and it really hurt. I felt depressed for a while, because I remember after that scenario, I went back to church, and you know, I worship, I had my hand up and all of that. Praise the Lord, hallelujah, thank God for life. And I was asked to do something for the Mother's Day program, to pay tribute to the mothers. And I thought that was the most insensitive thing that person asked me to do. And I said, no, I can't do it. And I didn't realize that I was hurting so much until they asked me to do it. And I said, no, I can't do it. And with that, I went outside, and that was the first time I cried so much. Just the weight of the loss came down on me. And sometimes we can rarely miss things. Somebody die and the person look as if they're smiling. People deal with things differently. Persons could deal with death in a way they bawl, they scream, and other person might just be there smiling, and we might think, oh, you see, she not be loving mommy, not be loving daddy, you not crying. That's not the case. People deal with things differently. And to me, it's safest to ask, how are you doing? Would you like to talk about this? If the person say no, then we accept that. So I had to tell the individual, no, I can't do this, and I just find that it was very insensitive. And with that, I want to say that it's okay to say no. Sometimes it's okay to say no. People ask us to do things, and sometimes we stretch ourselves to do it, and then we become angry and resentful towards them. As Dr. Bonnet was saying, your mental health day has to do with you and what you want to do with your life. So it's important that we know ourselves. You talk about self-awareness. Know what you can handle, and it's okay to say no sometimes. Let me take the question now, please. You have a question to Brother Shaw? Okay, sir. Go ahead. I didn't see your hand up. I saw the gentleman hand up first. Go ahead.
Well, I am from the old school background of being a teacher.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I notice these days teachers are saying that they are stressed, and I am praying the day would come when I would retire. That's what some people claim. And sometimes it makes me feel that, it used to make me feel that retirement is really something like a disgrace. Now, let us bear in mind, the way we deal with some children, it is like adding fuel to fire. Children have their stress at home. Teachers have their stress at home and in the classroom. And there are times when you pressure the children to learn, it is very difficult for them to learn under mental stress. The Bible said that God is able to keep in perfect peace him whose mind is stayed on thee. And what I realize, the mind is the battleground for the for the up and down, for the problems that happen in our daily life. My question is, what encouragement would you have for teachers and for children, saying that the mind is the battleground for mental stress? So what encouragement you have?
So we have two teachers here, past teachers, persons who have worked in the classroom. I'm going to ask them to take that question, please. Dr. Burnett and Bisains. Both would have worked in the school system. As a principal, deputy principal, and currently still working as a teacher and counselor.
This is a session by itself, you know. I mean, to be able to help teachers, because some of the tips that I've given earlier, those are some of the things that I wish that teachers would, because during the PE, the Professional Development Week, PDW, I usually do, you know, sessions with them, and I've done mental health, well, all the time. That's basically what I've been doing. It's like, yes, you'll be stressed out at home, and you'll be stressed out in the classroom, basically. But it is you who have to take control of your life. Here it goes back to that. So I would, the things that I've mentioned this evening, I just closed down the computer, that I probably could have given them just the same. That you have to take time out for yourself. You have to, the telephone, not the telephone, the cell phone that I spoke about, in that some of the same teachers would have that 24/7 in their hands, and they move around with it. You know, time out for that just the same. You find time for you find time for your family. All those things will be able to help you. The students themselves will be stressed out. Here again, you probably need to have intervention. You probably need to have somebody that can talk to you, that can help you to structure certain things in your life. Oftentimes, parents too, if I should just go there, that sometimes you don't have to be displaying some of the symptoms or a lot of the symptoms that we mentioned, but you will know within yourself that I just need somebody to be able to guide me in certain decisions I have to make. There are certain things that I need to do, and I need somebody to be able to help me to get through, or to be able to structure those things. So I would say basically look for help. Just look for help. If you have help all around, as a psychotherapist, I probably could make the advertisement basically here. I'm retired, but I give back to society. So for a student, I will just charge you $40, and oftentimes it's not just for an hour. Oftentimes I spend an hour plus, sometimes 2 hours with a particular student. For adult, I say $50, but at the same time, I spend hours, especially with couples, persons who have problems at home. I spend time talking with you. Some persons, they do not have the money to pay, but here it is. I can do that just the same. I can reach out to you, I can help you, reach out there to you, and I can help you. My whole thing is helping people. People need to be able to make decisions, and make decisions that will be good for them. Choices that can help them, that to develop as individuals. And if you find yourself being stressed out, look for help. You're going to find it somewhere.
Miss, hold on a while, Sister Caesar. Sister Haynes is going to respond, and then.
I was thinking about, was it Thursday gone? Was World Teachers Appreciation Day. And sometimes being in this school environment, sometimes I think parents have, and I don't want to generalize because there are some parents who are involved in their children's lives and stuff like that, but the majority of children and young people in the schools, they are problematic and yes, they come with the issues and they have, you know, their own stresses and stuff like that, and they react based on where they're coming from, and the teachers with their own frustrations and all of that. But I find if parents would play a more involved role in the whole teaching, learning experience of their children, that can really help. Sometimes teachers, I'm going to focus here on the fact that, especially in this particular season that we are in, where teachers are under so much stress, And in the pandemic, I remember seeing a lot of videos being made by parents who were saying that they couldn't even deal with their own children being at home, online school, a whole day. They realized how important the children going to school and having teachers are, because for them it's like, how do I manage my own child? Apart from children being home on holidays, this is now children being home to be schooled. And parents were having challenges with that. And so I feel we need to recognize more the importance and the important role that teachers play in the lives of our children. They are really the ones who are educating. Teachers are like parents, teachers, nurses, doctors, counselors, police officers. Teachers are like almost every role in our children's lives. And I think to be able to understand sometimes that teachers may have their own challenges and probably just need a break. I would share a scenario here. Recently, I was unwell, and I was forcing myself to go to work because I was told, when I shared how I was feeling, knowing my history, I was told, well, the school can't do it without a counselor, and you're good at what you do. And I said, yes, but if I am not well, I can't be any good to the students, you know? And I think I was just brushed off or taken for granted that, okay, she comes to school, she does her job well, she interacts with people, she doesn't say no, she smiles, but deep down inside, I wasn't well. And then I would go home, and the weight of everything would just come down on me. And then I thought, this world is so cruel, you know? I may as well just end it because nobody understands. Until this young lady here intervened. You see, the gentleman here talked about being able to see, having the spirit of discernment and understanding, because I was not one who was going to go out there and say, okay, I need help, this is what's going on, you know. But Annalita knows me, and she saw, and she asked the question, and that was how, and advocated for me, and that was how I got the help I needed. So sometimes we take teachers for granted, and we need to pay more attention and really show them that they are appreciated. And so on Thursday, I did an activity to, you know, just appreciate the teachers where I'm at. I was recently transferred, and I don't know them, but the feedback I got, for me, it was wow. They appreciated the fact that somebody took time out just to say, you're doing a good job, thank you. And there are some that I observed right up front, not really doing a good job. They're complaining, but because of my training, I realized that is coming from a place. And for those ones, I pulled them aside and I said, you all are champions. What you do is important and necessary. And even if it's only one child's life you touch, your service is important and your attitude needs to be different. And that was able to bring people to this, you know, this awareness of what am I doing and where do I need help. And so let us appreciate our teachers more. Yes, they need to do that part of self-care and looking, you know, inside and doing all the things that they need to do, but from the outside, if they feel like they are not appreciated and what they do is just a waste of time and all of that, then it adds to their stress. So as a community, as parents, as guardians, as administrators, let us do better in terms of supporting our teachers.
Thank you very much. So we're going to take 2 questions, after which I'm going to ask the panelists to just take a 1-minute wrap up. Just decide what your takeaway is going to be, what you want the audience to take away, so you have some time to formulate your thoughts. And we would have promised the audience that we will finish at a particular time, and we want to honor that as much as possible. So I'll take the 2 questions, after which the panelists would
Okay,
give
after
us
hearing
their
the
takeaway.
lady's story, I just had my questions come next. Someone who is mentally challenged, right? Because it's a mental confusion of the mind, can it be reversed by the mind without meds or actual counseling?
So different mental illnesses are going to have different treatment. For persons who are experiencing psychotic disorders, so let's say for instance a person is diagnosed with schizophrenia, medication is their only recourse. You cannot counsel it away, you cannot sit at home and eat healthy, exercise, and hope for it to go away. When persons are experiencing a mental illness that is as severe as schizophrenia, they're going to have to be on medication. Like I said, there are different mental illnesses. So for a person that is suffering from depression, if they're experiencing mild symptoms, persons may be able to manage that at home to a place where they're able to get themselves back to wellness. So eating properly, sleeping, making provisions to intervene on the things that are disturbing them. So let's say they're experiencing a particular issue and they're able to talk to a friend or an elder or somebody in the church, and that is helpful for them, then you will find that those symptoms start to decrease. For those that are experiencing moderate symptoms of depression, counseling is something that they do. For more severe cases, where you find that persons may be thinking about committing suicide like that, if they cannot get the necessary social intervention, so different things can have different reasons. So let's say for instance, your suicidal ideation can be as a result of a stressor in your life. So if you are able to deal with that stressor, then you might find that that suicidal ideation goes away. For those persons who cannot link it to a specific thing, then those persons might need to be on medication. In addition, persons have been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, but they're high-functioning bipolar persons, which means they still go out, they still function. For persons like that, they may go undetected and not require medication, but then there are some persons, because it's interfering with their day-to-day functioning, they now need to go on medication. Anxiety is the same as depression. If you're having mild symptoms, no medication required. But when you find that symptoms are more severe, they're interfering with your day-to-day, your reality is not where it's supposed to be, then for persons like that, they would need to take medication. So it depends on what you are suffering from.
Okay, so we'll take the questions. And we'll ask the panelists to be as brief as possible.
After you spoke about your experience losing a child, and persons asked you to do something on Mother's Day, and the heart was there. Now we came down to the conclusion that sometimes, well, the church is like a hospital, it's a filling station, and so much more the church can be. But sometimes the church can be aggravating sometimes. And I'll explain what I mean.
Go ahead.
Now, there might be a married couple. They're trying for years to make a baby. And nothing seemed to be happening. And then members of the church keep saying, "Not time for how I'm pick me, not time for how I'm baby." You don't know the salt that you're putting in that wound. The person might laugh because there's nothing more to do more than laugh, but deep inside they're hurting. Sometimes when they reach home, they cry because they want a child, nothing happening, and we are just provoking them and telling them it's time for them to have a child. Also, the same thing can apply to a young lady who is in the church. Everybody like to get married. But marriage is not just for one day. Marriage is a lifetime, and you have to be careful how you choose partners these days. Because if we look at the statistics, we would see that divorce is on the rise. In a time you get a husband, you don't know. Sometimes the person had a relationship and the relationship break out. And they be seeking and they be looking and they be asking God. And my admonishment to us as a church, when you see people get married, love them.
That's right.
And even though God not give them any children, still bless them.
Yes.
And if you see a young lady in the church and they're not getting married, it must be a reason. Once they're a lesbian. There must be a reason. Stop bombarding and harassing and provoking the young people of our church, because we can make them go out there, you know. And if a baby we want, they go bring in baby for us.
That's right.
So we definitely have to be careful. That is what I have to say to the night.
And Sister Caesar, you just spoke about my story right there, because I experienced that same level of harassment. After I lost that baby, it took 2 years before I got pregnant again, and within that 2 years, I was constantly harassed. You not see you can't make none. You want one for me own. Where not go adopt? And the most painful thing that happened was, I remember my husband and I went to a crusade, and while we were walking towards the vehicle, he put his arm around me, and we were walking towards the vehicle. And this gentleman, I was just doing, they got 3 children, how much are they have? I went home that evening and I cried. And my husband had to comfort me and say, you know, I love you, even if we don't get any, we just keep trying, even if we don't get any, I still love you. And that was really painful, and I was coming from a crusade. You know, so it's a warning for all of us that we need to be sensitive. Sometimes we don't really mean to hurt people. I don't think they went out of their way to hurt me, but sometimes we say things carelessly, and it can hurt. So I'll take your question. I know we have a lot of questions, but we can't go all night, so yes, you will be allowed to find out. Comment. Okay, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Quick and right to the point. Just a suggestion that sessions like these we need to take to our communities, because a lot of positive thoughts would have came out and information that we are very much happy to have. But I think it is something that we need to take to our different communities, where we can sensitize individuals about the whole issue of mental health. So that is just my suggestion.
So I will take that into consideration. Just a point of information, if persons do want sessions, they can reach out to Mental Health Rehabilitation Center, let them know that they want a session for whatever purpose, and we will make it happen. Yes, please, it's free.
Sister Joseph.
If you need help, reach out to the mental health center. Now, you know the stigma with the mental health center. Now, I listen to Miss there also. I am in a position where I have to help parents. And I want to be able to say, you can go here or you can go there. I listen to Dr. Burnett saying his cost, and you know the people that we deal with in the community, they cannot afford the cost to go to a psychiatrist or a counselor. Now, I want to know who or where I can refer people to, because we have a lot of poor individuals. I can't say go wrong to the mental health, because I might hear people are going to say that I'm crazy. So I want, when a parent come to me, I can say, go to this clinic, because look, the young lady there, she didn't know where she can go to get the help that she needed. So all that why I was asking Ms. Haynes about the help, because I really want to direct people places where they can go, because they can't afford.
Okay. So where can people be referred? You can still call the Mental Health Rehabilitation Center. The services, when you call, they are free of charge through the government service. If you reach out to us and you let us know that you're uncomfortable with coming to the institution, we do reach out to the various clinics within the different districts, and we ask for some space where they are usually very willing. Once doctors aren't happening at that very moment, they would accommodate us within the different clinics. So clinics across St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we have a very good working relationship with them. If we call and let them know we need to see a client for whatever purpose, they do make spaces available to us, in addition to outpatient at the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital. So do not let the stigma of coming to mental health stop you from reaching out for service, because we do try to meet people where they are if they're unable to come to mental health.
And if I can add to that, as Ms. Matthews mentioned, there's some mental illness that has to be treated with medication. So in that case, like schizophrenia, you will definitely need to go there. But apart from that, we have the Employees Assistance Program, which is a government-run program, which is free. So that's for government employees. I don't have the number right now because I didn't prepare for this question. But the Employees Assistance Program is where you have counselors would meet with persons who are employed with the government, and that would be free. We have the school counselors. There's a Guidance Counselors Association, and most of our secondary schools have guidance counselors. And the system run like this. They would deal with the students who come to them as well as parents, and if it is beyond them, then they will refer. And the referral system sometimes could be the the adolescent psychiatric clinic, which is part of what Ms. Matthews would be doing. I know they used to have that at the hospital. Do you still have that at the hospital? Where do you have that?
We're not at the hospital anymore. We run it from Enums on a Tuesday and Buckamet Bay Clinic.
Right, so Enums on a Tuesday, that's adolescent psychiatric clinic. So if you have a young person, you can reach out to them and they can see them at that place. And there's also the student support services, and that is in Kingston, that's run under the Ministry of Education. They also offer counseling services you can call. So some of these things you can just call Ministry of Education or speak with the nearest school counselor and they can give you the number or the referral. Because in the case of student support services, you need to, like if you go through the school system, the person will go with a referral letter, so you'll get you a little bit faster than you just go and you tell them I come for help. Then it's going to take a little bit longer. But if you would have been seeing a school counselor, the school counselor would do a proper referral saying, this person showing these signs and symptoms, could you assess them for this, that, and then they would determine what help is needed. Dr. De Silva is attached to that unit and she does assessment, because most of the school counselors will send persons to her for assessment and she'll provide guidance as to how to help. Apart from this, we have private practice, Mr. Bonnet. He's a very lenient person. He wants to give back to his community, and there are times when he would do his sessions for free. So it depends if the person is able to pay, he would take the money. If the person is not able to pay, he would agree to see them for free. So in cases where the person is not a child or an adolescent to access these counseling services to the Ministry of Education, you can reach out to Mr. Bonnet, see what he can offer. Also, I have a friend by the name of Mrs. Graves, and she's about to launch her divorce recovery ministry. So if you have issues in marriage, I myself, I'm a marriage coach. I have training in marriage coaching, so I function in that area. And she deals with divorce recovery for persons who have gone through a divorce and is experiencing the trauma of the separation. Ms. Graves, that is her area of expertise. So if you're here like that, you can see me after, and I would let you know when there's the open forum. She has a session coming up that you can go and be a part of. So there are opportunities out there. You can also speak to Ms. Haynes and she will let you know what services can be offered through her organizations. All right? So that's it for the questioning. Thank you so much. You have been a very good audience. I'm going to let the panelists just give us a 1 minute or if possible some seconds, take away what you want us to take away, after which I will ask Pastor Joseph to come and just give remarks and close for tonight. So panelists, just tell us what you want us to take. You have said a lot, but maybe the main thing you want us to take away, or just something you want us to take away, and we keep it as brief as possible. Thank you so much.
My minute. I did say that you could call on the police for criminal offenses. It would be a miss of me if I didn't say that if the person is trying to harm themselves, harm yourself, maybe suicide, or may not reach amount of suicide, but once he's doing harm to himself or herself, you could call on the police too, and the same action would be taken. So not only criminal offenses, but once a person is doing something to hurt themselves, that is also one of the grounds to call on the police.
So I I'd just like to encourage persons, if you find that you need mental health interventions, please reach out to the Mental Health Rehabilitation Center. Again, the numbers are 45-84240 and 45-84240, 45-86185. You can ask for myself, Miss Matthews, any member of the psychosocial team, or just let them know what you are experiencing and they will get the best person that is there to help you. Mental health is a part of your wellness. It is a part of health in an overall capacity. When your mental health starts to slip, it is going to affect your health as well. So if you need interventions in any capacity, or you just need somebody to talk to because you've been going through it lately, please reach out for help.
Thank you.
Okay, my mission is empowering for better life choices. That's basically what I do. As Mrs. Dublin would have said, for me, if you have the money, fine. And sometimes I only charge because I just want you to take responsibility. You know, when a person pays for something, then they really take it seriously. But for me, if you don't have any money, I'm there for you. I cater for people. I just create an environment of trust. I welcome everyone. I embrace anybody. Because my aim is to allow you to be able to make great, good, and what am I saying, honest, and life choices that you can really fit into. So therefore, I embrace anyone who just want my help. You can get my number from Mrs. Dublin, and I will be right there ready to help anyone.
So can you just maybe call your number out for persons who are following online?
You're not asking me if I know the number. Okay, it's 433-9166. 433-9166.
Thank you very much.
My takeaway tonight is, if there is someone who comes to you and expresses that he or she is experiencing challenges in their mental health, and that person is in the church, don't first judge the person and tell them they're not praying enough or they don't have faith. Ask that person what you can do to help, or even if they don't know, like Ms. Matthews says, now that we are aware where help can be had, let us encourage persons to seek help so that they can improve in their mental health. So seeking help for me would be the takeaway if you're experiencing challenges in your mental health.
Thank you so much. Big round of applause for our panelists. They have done really, really well, and we are appreciative of them. So at this time, I'm going to pass over to Pastor, who will just give the closing remarks, after which we will see our official. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dublin. And I listened intently to the presentations and the questions and comments. And whereas I would have liked to ask the question and say something, I said there are many persons who want to ask the question, make the comment, and I've been talking. So it is their time to talk. I believe this session was very fruitful. It's only unfortunate that we didn't get the first part of it on YouTube, but most of it would have gone, because your testimony, Joan, was very good, and Dr. Bonnet, sorry we missed your presentation as the first thing there, and some of Mother Graham. I think would have gotten everything from Ms. Matthews, but those online, I'm sure, from the questions that were asked, from the comments and so on, I know they would have benefited. Yeah, we had some issues at the beginning to take it to the general public. Very importantly, this is a session that I believe the Lord wants us to have. And one of the things that I usually say in the scriptures, and people use that often to encourage a bad habit, one for the stomach's sake. The Apostle Paul said, drink no longer water. He was speaking to Timothy. But take a little wine for the stomach's sake. And whereas it has nothing to do with social drinking and all that, right, for me right now, is that the Apostle Paul was a giant in faith and would have laid hands on many people and see them receive miraculous healing. But here was Timothy. And instead of going and laying hands on Timothy, he was giving advice. And he was giving the advice that, listen, Timothy, you know, this is what you need to do. What you are doing, maybe there's something wrong with your diet or the method that you go about this, you know, and therefore he was saying, you take a little wine for your often infirmities. So, you know, I'm taking that scripture, we apply it to us today, whether it is a mental illness or some physical illness. There are times when we need some advice, and we must take that advice and put it into practice. Just as how we will pray, yes, we will pray for you, but it doesn't make sense, man. You come here, you're smoking weed like you're crazy. Well, we can't get you crazy. And you know, makes sense. You come and you lay hand on you and pray, oh Lord, we pray that you'll help this person. But then, you know, you gone back smoking and affecting you, and you're misbehaving. It doesn't make sense. So we sit down and we talk to you. Listen, man, you have to get off this thing. If it means that you have to get away from certain friends, if it means that you have to keep away from certain environment, you know, but we give that advice as well as pray. And I think from what we have gathered here tonight is that some very good advice have been given, and I hope that we will take it with us for our own mental health, take it home, make use of it, and also those of you online, we trust that, you know, you would be helped by this and you'll be able to help others, because what we have learned tonight is not only to help us, but we'll be able in a better position to help one another. I would have liked to hear a little statistics on the persons who are in the mental home, the mental hospital, who are there because of drugs. Males and young males. Yes. There was a gentleman I visited years ago, and all he was saying, because they claimed that he was on drugs, and all that he was saying, Pastor, they give me two not one in a pastor, but they give me 2 injections, and that was all he was harping on, that they give him 2 injections and not 1. And one of the guy there, he spotted me and he said, Pastor, I want you to carry back this message. Tell the young people out there to stay away from drugs, because the drugs get me up. So I said, yes, I will take your message. So I'm taking the message, and those of you online, I'm giving you that message as well. And so with all the other causes of mental illness that we deal with, there are some things that persons can actually do for themselves. Stay away from drugs and stay away from the strong rum. And I might sound biased, but I mean, whatever it is that is going to cause a breakdown in your mental health, stay away from it. And I would pray for you, pray for your families, and pray for a community. And again, personally, I would say thank you very much, panelists. You have done a wonderful job. And I want you to come back some other time. Well, Brother Graham is always here. Joan, did I teach you in school? Yes. And Dr. Bonnet, my friend, I was your best man. I was his best. So you see the community, this is a small world, not true? We are so much connected. And let's keep that connection because we all need each other. Look at somebody and tell them, you need me. Oh, you're not saying it? We need each other. Okay? So let me pray with you, please. Can you stand? Let's pray. Father God, what a wonderful session we had here this evening. Thank you for the opportunity that you have given to us, that we can be involved in a forum like this. Thank you for the wisdom and the knowledge that you have instilled within those who have made their presentations. Lord, we pray that you continue to use them. And those with business, bless their business. Those who are involved with the schools and community, Lord, I pray that you will extend their borders. I pray the prayer of Jabez over them. You'd bless them and bless them indeed. Oh Lord, you would extend their borders and you would keep evil away from them. Thank you for them, Lord. And thank you very much for our moderator who have done so well, that you will continue to use her for your honor and for your glory. We pray for this congregation, and we pray for those who are online listening via YouTube. We ask, Lord God, that all of us would be focused. You have called upon us to be sober and to be vigilant. May we always be that, so that we can be good for ourselves and good for our communities. Again, Lord, we ask that you bless us and help that our mind would be stayed on you and stayed on the right things, oh God, so that your peace would fill our hearts, oh God. Let nobody lose their mind, oh God. We ask in the name of the Lord Jesus that you would help minds to be stable, oh God, and that you would put good people in their lives to say things to them that would keep them on the right path. Lord, as we leave this place to go to our various homes, please take us there safely and bless us with a good night's rest and wake us up on the morrow with health and with strength. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, so there's a presentation. So please don't go. Wait for the presentation. There's a special presentation. And then you will be given instruction about the snacks. Don't run away and leave the snacks there in the kitchen because I could only eat so much on the move.